Day 1. Deployment Orders. April 5th, 1940. Dear Diary. Today was the day we received our deployment orders. The atmosphere at the training camp in Munich was tense as we gathered in the assembly hall. The commanding officer stood before us, his face stern as he read out the orders. We are to be deployed to the front lines in France, specifically the Ardennes region, to support the Wehrmacht's push through this strategic area. The news hit us like a sledgehammer. We knew this day would come, but the reality of it still sent chills down my spine. I immediately thought of my family back in Weilheim. I wish I could see them one last time before we leave. We were given a few hours to pack our gear and write letters home. I penned a quick letter to mother and father, trying to sound brave and reassuring. I also wrote a special note to Greta, telling her to be strong and that I would come back to her. The rest of the day was a blur of activity as we prepared for departure. The camaraderie among the men was strong, but there was an underlying current of fear and uncertainty. As the sun set, we boarded the train that would take us to the front. The rhythmic clatter of the train wheels was a stark reminder of the journey ahead. Day 3, arrival at the front. April 7th, 1940. We arrived at the front lines in the early morning hours. The landscape of northern France is beautiful, but the scars of war are evident everywhere. The once peaceful countryside is now marred by trenches, barbed wire, and the remnants of artillery bombardments. We are in the Ardennes, a region known for its dense forests and rolling hills, which the French believed impassable for large-scale military operations. As we disembarked from the train in Sedan, the reality of our situation began to sink in. The town has been a key objective in our push through the Ardennes. We were immediately met by our commanding officer, who briefed us on the current situation. The French and British forces are well entrenched and the fighting has been fierce. Our mission is to break through their lines and pave the way for a swift advance. The weight of this responsibility is heavy, but there is also a sense of determination among us. Our first task was to set up camp and familiarize ourselves with the area. The cold spring air chilled us to the bone, and the mud made everything more difficult. We dug our trenches and prepared our positions, all the while keeping an eye on the horizon for any signs of enemy movement. Day 5, first contact, April 9th, 1940. Dear Diary. Today I experienced my first taste of combat. The day started like any other, with routine patrols and fortifications. But as the afternoon wore on, the sounds of gunfire and explosions grew closer. The enemy was probing our defenses near Sedan, and we were ordered to hold our ground. The first encounter was intense. Bullets whizzed past, and the deafening roar of artillery filled the air. My heart pounded in my chest as I took cover in the trench, my rifle clenched tightly in my hands. The enemy was relentless, but so were we. The training we had undergone was finally put to the test, and I am proud to say that we held our position. The battlefield is a chaotic and terrifying place. The noise, the smoke, and the constant danger are overwhelming. I saw comrades fall, and I did my best to help the wounded. The reality of war is harsh and unforgiving. There's no glory here, only survival. Our unit, the 1st Infantry Division, is part of the larger 12th Army Group under General Wilhelm List. Our division is known for its discipline and effectiveness, and we are determined to uphold that reputation. However, the French defenses are formidable. They have fortified their positions with machine guns, artillery, and anti-tank obstacles. The terrain works to their advantage, making our advance slow and costly. Day 7. Adjusting to life at the front, April 11th, 1940. Life at the front is a constant struggle. The days are long and exhausting, filled with patrols, fortifications, and the ever-present threat of enemy attack. The nights are cold and sleep is hard to come by. The trench we occupy is a narrow, muddy channel, barely wide enough to move through without stumbling. The smell of damp earth and sweat is overpowering, and the sounds of distant gunfire and explosions are a constant reminder of the danger we face. The food is basic but sufficient. We eat a lot of bread, sausage and potatoes. It's far from the hearty meals Mother used to make, but it keeps us going. The water we drink is often muddy, but it's all we have. Despite the discomfort, we are adapting. The camaraderie among the men is growing stronger. We share stories, laugh and support each other through the tough times. The rumors of a major offensive are circulating, and the anticipation is palpable. We know that the coming days will be challenging, but we are ready. The bonds we have formed and the training we have endured have prepared us for what lies ahead. Day 14. First letters from home, April 18th, 1940. Dear Diary, today was a good day. We received our first letters from home. My heart leapt with joy as I tore open the envelope from Weilheim. Mother wrote that everyone is praying for my safety and that they are proud of me. Greta included a drawing of the family with a big heart around it. It brought tears to my eyes. Reading those words gave me strength. It reminded me of why I'm here and what I'm fighting for. The letters were passed around, and for a brief moment the trench was filled with laughter and warmth as we shared stories from home. The days ahead will be difficult, but I carry the love and support of my family with me. It is a beacon of hope in these dark times. I will continue to fight with all my strength, for them and for my country. Day 20. Preparations for the offensive, April 24th, 1940. The preparations for our upcoming offensive are in full swing. We are to launch a coordinated attack with other divisions in our group. The goal is to break through the French defenses in Sedan and create a corridor for our tanks and infantry to advance towards Reims. The planning is meticulous and every detail is being considered. Our officers are confident, but they also know that the cost will be high. We have been drilling constantly, rehearsing our movements and practicing with our weapons. The days are long and grueling, but we are focused and determined. The artillery units have been brought up and the sound of their bombardments fills the air. It is a terrifying yet exhilarating sound, knowing that soon we will be advancing under their cover. The weather has been unpredictable, with sudden rain showers turning the trenches into muddy quagmires. Despite the discomfort, we are adapting. The camaraderie among the men is growing stronger. We share stories, laugh, and support each other through the tough times. The reality of war is harsh. The courage, the camaraderie, and the unwavering determination to see this through are what keep us going. We are soldiers, and we will endure. Day 25, the offensive begins. April 29th, 1940. The day we have been preparing for has finally arrived. At dawn, our artillery opened up a barrage on the French positions. The ground shook beneath our feet as shells exploded all around. We huddled in our trenches, waiting for the order to advance. As the bombardment ceased, we climbed out of the trenches and began our advance towards Sedan. The air was filled with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. The French defenses were formidable, and the machine guns raked our lines. Men fell all around me, but we pressed on. The terrain was difficult with dense forests and steep hills. We used every bit of cover we could find, moving from tree to tree, ditch to ditch. The French had fortified their positions well, and progress was slow. Our tanks provided much needed support, their guns blasting away at enemy positions. The fighting was intense and brutal. We engaged in hand-to-hand combat, using bayonets and grenades. The enemy was determined to hold their ground, but so were we. The days ahead will be challenging, but we are ready. The bonds we have formed and the training we have endured have prepared us for what lies ahead. The battle is relentless, and the air is thick with smoke and the stench of gunpowder. We push forward despite the heavy losses. The reality of war is stark and unforgiving, but we are driven by our duty and our desire to see this through. Day 30. Aftermath of the offensive. May 4th, 1940. Dear Diary, the past few days have been a whirlwind of chaos and bloodshed. The offensive has pushed us deeper into French territory, but the cost has been high. Our unit has suffered heavy casualties. Men I trained with, laughed with, shared meals with, are now gone. The battlefield is a graveyard of shattered lives and broken dreams. I lost my closest friend Hans during the push through the Ardennes. He was hit by machine gun fire as we advanced through a dense forest. I can still hear his screams as he fell. The image haunts me, and I can't shake the feeling of helplessness. We buried him where he fell, marking his grave with a makeshift cross. The loss of Hans is a harsh reminder of the fragility of life and the brutal reality of war. The nights are the worst. The silence is broken only by the occasional distant gunfire and the groans of the wounded. The smell of death and decay hangs heavy in the air. The days are filled with the grim task of burying the dead and tending to the wounded. The sheer number of casualties is overwhelming. The medics are doing their best, but there are just too many. Our commander has ordered us to hold our position and prepare for a possible counterattack. We are exhausted both physically and mentally. The constant stress and fear are taking their toll on all of us. Morale is low, but we know we must carry on. We are soldiers of the Reich, and we have a duty to fulfill. The rumors of other fronts are disheartening. We hear that the Soviets are putting up a fierce resistance in the east and that the British are planning more offensives. The uncertainty of our situation is nerve-wracking. The thought of what lies ahead is daunting, but we must stay focused on the task at hand. The conditions in the trenches are deplorable. The mud, the rats, the cold, it all adds to the misery. Our equipment is worn and supplies are running low. The French are tenacious defenders, and their resolve is making our advance difficult. We have heard stories of their courage and determination, and it is clear they will not give up easily. Despite the hardships, there is a sense of camaraderie among us. We share stories of home, of happier times, and it helps to lift our spirits, even if just for a moment. The bonds we have formed here are unbreakable. We are more than just soldiers, we are brothers in arms. The reality of war is harsh, but it also brings out the best in us. The courage, the camaraderie, and the unwavering determination to see this through. We are soldiers and we will endure.